There, it's me, Stephen Thomas, with Reports on Housing with another housing debrief. This one is going over foreclosures because foreclosure activity popped 10%. This is foreclosure filings for 2023 compared to 2022. And of course, when anybody talks about foreclosures, we need to step back and understand that there are so many people that are rooting for the demise of housing. And with values that have gone skyrocketed up north, and then on top of that, you throw in higher interest rates, the unaffordability that occurs and the affordability crisis that we're currently going through right now, it makes everybody believe that the housing market must crash. We talked about that last week, as well as there's got to be, it's reminiscent of the foreclosure waves that we had during the Great Recession. Now, that was the Great Recession. This is today. There are two totally different markets. There are many YouTubers out there that are actually trying to put that narrative together, constantly talking about how housing's going to implode. It's going to be worse than the Great Recession. It'll be like the Great Depression. And they continuously churn that same message over and over again. But it's just not true. The data, stats, and trend lines just don't support that. One of the biggest things that's missing that they don't understand is how strong the housing stock is, which we'll get into in a second. And also the health of overall homeowners across the United States. They're so strong that it prevents from being an absolute collapse. And their expectations based upon the affordability problem and the fact that so many people's guts tell them that we should definitely, values need to come down. It doesn't make sense that they don't. And so their expectations are something has to give. It's got to be in the term of foreclosures or a wave of people out there that have Airbnbs and that should bust, or all these investors that got in need to get out, that type of thing. There are so many different stories lines as to where we're going to get this inventory, but it's just not true that we're not going to get a mass amount of inventory from anywhere other than when rates drop. Of course, we are starting to see more homes that are coming on the market right now because there are some homeowners that are just wanting to move. They've waited for rates to come down. They haven't cooperated and are just in the market to go ahead and do it. So the expectations were for things to definitely to implode, something to happen, something's going to happen, but that's just not what the reality is. And what this is, so this was in the news recently, and this is what caught my attention because once again, you look at the number of people that are actually searching for foreclosures and that type of thing. And this is from Adam Research, which follows all foreclosure filings and foreclosure activity across the United States. And you can see for 2023, there were 357,000 foreclosure filings. In 2022, there were 324,000. This doesn't mean they become foreclosures. This means they are filings. And you can see the low was in 2021 with 151,000. But then even if you look to where we were prior to COVID, prior to COVID, we were at 2019 levels of 493,000. 2023 has 357,000. We haven't even made our way back up to pre-COVID levels. And if you were in the marketplace at all, nobody was talking about foreclosures and short sales back in 2017, 18, and 19. And there were considerably more back then. And if you want to drill back, there's so many people that have this pegged as so similar to the Great Recession. It's going to come. But this chart is absolutely excellent for portraying exactly where we were prior to the Great Recession and the lead up to the Great Recession. Because remember, the Great Recession didn't really begin until 2008. And in 2005, there were 532,000 foreclosure filings. That is much higher than where we are right now at 357,000. That's actually higher than where we were in 2019. And that was 2005. That was 4 years prior to the Great Recession, which began in 2008, when there were 2.3 million foreclosure filings. And you could see that we are very low right now. In 2005, it was low. and it grew from there. But you could see we haven't even grown from the levels of where we were prior to COVID. And prior to COVID, short sales and foreclosures, there was such a long expansion period where the strength of the housing market just kept on growing and growing over time. And that's where we were just prior to COVID, and that's where we are right now. Yes, there are more foreclosures than there were last year. Last year was way more than there were in 2021. But also keep in mind there was a moratorium on foreclosures for a while, so of course you're going to get hit a low. Now they've increased, but they haven't even increased to pre-COVID levels. That is very, very important to understand, to better explain. As a matter of fact, just to demonstrate where we are from 2019. Yes, we might be 10% up year over year, but 2023 was still off 28% compared to 2019. And I'm just going to show you some slides so you understand some numbers and data and charts so you understand kind of where we are right now. And this is the United States foreclosures by quarter, and this chart goes all the way back to 2003. And you could see that the number of actual foreclosures is so in the dumps compared to where we were even prior to the Great Recession, and hasn't even made its way back up towards pre-COVID levels. And you see that 2021 where it bottomed, that it has everything to do with, once again, those moratoriums that we talked about. And there's numbers of statistics. These are foreclosure starts and sales. You could see, of course, there's the bottoms that occurred in the 2020 to 2021 time frame, where there was the moratoriums. Moratoriums were lifted, and the number of foreclosure sales is the black line. The blue line is the number of foreclosure starts, and both of those trail where we were prior to COVID once again. Another great demonstration as to the health of the market, even compared to where we were prior to COVID. Not even the Great Recession or pre-Great Recession, because even right prior to COVID, the housing stock was in a healthier spot than it was pre-Great Recession, like dialing all the way back towards 2005. And this is something else that you track. It goes up and down on a cyclical basis. Hasn't done that the cycle as much, but it's up a little bit. The blue line, this is the number, the delinquency rate. But if you look at the delinquency rate and you draw a line across, prior to where it started to really fall during COVID, this is still extremely low level, dating all the way back to the turn of the century. 3.57 is really low compared to what the average is for this time of the year, and that's 4.83% is the national delinquency rate going back in time. So you can understand that is extremely low. Once again, we're going to talk about, I'm going to peel it back a little bit on how strong the housing stock is. But first, I wanted to bring in our sponsor. Our sponsor for this week is Lee McMahon. She is with Movement Mortgage, and she's a 5-star professional, a 2023 market leader, and she's impact lender Movement Mortgage. She was part of the Fortune December 2023, January 2024 issue. It's mortgages that mean more. There really are. Their mortgages, what they're trying to do is they're trying to give back. They want to make an impact. Lightning fast processing, impact. Accurate upfront underwriting, impact. A full array of loan products, impact. But not just that. It doesn't cost more to make another impact, and that is an impact on society. Besides them, sustainable, organic, or purpose-driven products come from with premium pricing. Movement home loans are all competitively priced. The question is, what lender does what do they do with their profits? And they're giving back. And Lee McMahon is very involved, and they want you to come join them. GraceWorks, join them Wednesday, February 21st, 2024. Von Carmen in Irvine from 11 to 12:30. It's a lunch, a learn, and a celebrate with other local nonprofit winners. Nonprofits are doing more in the community. It's amazing what she's doing. She's trying to educate as well. It's someone looking to buy but needs some assistance. They're bringing in Cal HFA. They're talking about the California Dreams for All Shared Appreciation Loan Program. There's so much that they want to make it so that everybody can be a home buyer, and there are plenty of products that are out there. So we invite you to contact Lee McMahon at Movement Mortgage. She can be reached at 949-239-4252. That's 949-239-4252. Thanks, Lee, for your continued sponsorship. Now back to the strength of the overall housing market. Well, the housing, not market, the housing stock, all houses combined. That's what we're looking at. And if you look at, here's more that points to the strength of housing, the number of shares of underwater mortgages. You could see where it is as of the fourth quarter of 2023. And if you go backwards, it looks very reminiscent to prior to the Great Recession levels, and that's where it's been bouncing around. And then low credit scores used to be, and this is why we had such a bad Great Recession, is because of the fact that loans were being given to people that really couldn't afford their payment. And there was a lot of adjustable rate mortgages, and it was really preying on the people with lower credit scores. It doesn't mean that people with low credit scores can't make their monthly obligation. It's just that there were programs that they knew putting together that they weren't going to be able to make the payment down the road, and they would have to sell down the road. And you could see this here, the number of home mortgages that were originated that had very low credit scores of less than 660, and you could see the percentage right now of all originations, and what that is right now. It's as of 2023, it is less than 10% of all originations have credit scores of less than 660, versus back in the day, just prior to the Great Recession, it hit almost 35%. That is more than 1/3 of all originations were for borrowers that had less than 660 credit scores. So you could just see what was leading up to the Great Recession. That wave of that black line kept on going higher. There's a stronger and stronger percentage of low credit borrowers. And then if you drill this back further, you could actually see what the different ranges are. So mainly, and especially even during COVID or prior to COVID for that last decade, the strength has been in the borrower having credit scores of greater than 760 plus. And this is all mortgage originations by credit score type. And you can see that the small 620 is that tiny little dark blue line at the bottom. And it is just a little fragment of everything. Even though there weren't that many loans that were done last year, it's just a small little smidgen portion of the overall total. And it's just other ways of breaking it down. This is very, very interesting. This is the number of people that this is the percentage of their first lien mortgage by current loan to value. So the current loan to value, if you can see, the ones that have more than 60% in their houses, it's almost 70% of the entire housing stock and has at least 60% equity in their house. And so that is absolutely a huge number. And even the numbers that have at least 80%, it is 90% of the housing stock has at least 80% equity in their house. It's a little bit over that. So that kind of a chart also just shows you the strength of the housing stock as a whole. Most everybody out there has fixed rate mortgages. They're low rate mortgages as well. And this is just another one that just shows you where mortgage delinquencies were in foreclosures, and everybody thought there was going to be a wave during COVID. That is the big giant hill, of course, is the Great Recession. The small hill, the smaller one is COVID, where everybody went into forbearance, and then everybody peeling out of forbearance over time. And most of them either sold their homes or they put something together at the bank, and they've been current ever since. So they put together they've reached some sort of agreement on what they do with the payments that they missed. They either paid them off in installments or put them at the end of the mortgage, something. And I just want to demonstrate the lack of distressed sales and distressed listings that are out there. This is for SoCal. This chart actually shows you that there are only 152 available short sales and foreclosures in all of Southern California. That's a big, gigantic area of the United States. 152 total. There were 673 this time in 2019, so that's prior to COVID. So you can imagine, comparing today to even prior to COVID, nobody was looking for foreclosures and short sales back then. It was not the bread and butter of the market like it was during the Great Recession. And this, you could see the spike on the left-hand side. That spike is 2012. So that didn't even take into account, that was the end of the Great Recession, the beginning of the expansion years. It went a lot higher prior to 2012, but that is when our data records keeping began for Southern California as a whole. And this is the Bay Area distressed closed sales. There were 17 closed sales in the month of January that were foreclosures or short sales, and this is all of the Bay Area, the aggregate of the 9 counties that are there. And prior to COVID, this time, January of 2019, you were looking at 44. So there's still a lot of room to grow just to get to where we were prior to COVID. So once again, just demonstrating the lack of foreclosure, short sale activity that is in the market. Any kind of foreclosures that are out there, a lot of them don't even make it to this point, because what happens is you have investors that go to the court steps and actually purchase them because there's so few, and they turn around and they remodel the property, rehabilitate it, and put it on the market at a premium, and that's going on a lot behind the scenes. So it just doesn't bring that many foreclosures and short sales to the market. So those people that are expecting foreclosures expect it to, for this time period, to behave like the Great Recession, because values went up and then everything caved, and that was because of the lack of the health of the homeowner and all the people with poor credit that were getting into loans that they absolutely just could not afford. So it created this waterfall dive in values as a result. So this is not the Great Recession. Foreclosures are not going to drive down home prices like they did during the Great Recession. This is not a house of cards that is ready to just fall like it did prior to the Great Recession and all the charts that we just demonstrated to you before. Instead, we have homeowners with strong credit, with great jobs, with low fixed payments, which is a hedge against inflation, also a hedge against rising rents. You have this fixed low payment. And there's record tappable equity, which means they can tap their equity and still have 20% equity in their homes. It's never been this high. There's a record number of equity rich. That means, and we showed you those slides, 50%. It's at an all-time record of homeowners that have at least 50% equity in their homes. So, and then also the last thing I'm gonna leave you with, the people are kicking back, they're hunkering down, they're staying in their homes because they're locked in at these gorgeous low rates and they don't wanna move. In the United States, we've been showing you SoCal. SoCal's a little bit even stronger than this, and actually all of California is stronger than this. This is the United States as a whole. 79% of all the United States has interest rates that are locked in at 5% or lower. Keep in mind, there's about close to 42% of all homeowners across the United States that own their homes free and clear, also a record number. So 79% of those with the loan have an interest rate of 5% or lower, 59% have an interest rate of 4% or lower, and 23% have an interest rate of 3% or lower. These people, a lot of them are choosing not to move because they're enjoying these low rates, and it is great for budgeting and helping their budgets for themselves or their families throughout the years, even with these higher prices with inflation. So with inflation that had run amok, they're still able to afford things because of the fact that they have these low fixed rate mortgages, and on an annual basis, their salaries and incomes are actually slowly rising, which is an offset to the spike that we have occurred in. That has occurred in inflation. So if you liked what you've seen or what you're hearing, we have a lot more like this. We'll have a lot more coming on a weekly basis. It's not necessarily always on a Thursday. Sometimes it'll be on a Wednesday or a Friday, but we're going to bring this to you weekly. This is our 5th season of doing this. We started this during COVID, and we invite you to like this channel, like this video, and go to reportsonhousing.com to subscribe to our reports. We have them all over SoCal, and we have it up in the Bay Area as well. We're soon going to be launching Phoenix and Vegas. And the most recent report that came out is called The First Green Shoots. New report will be written for next week. And the last thing is if you want to subscribe, there is a place for a coupon code so you can get a free month. You won't even be charged that first month. And that is Cupid, because we just had Halloween. So Cupid for a free month, go to reportsonhousing.com. Make sure that you listen to also our podcast. This is the work of Brennan, part of our team. And he said, hey, where's your podcast? So besides doing YouTube, we also have podcasts. Podcasts are on YouTube or wherever you like to listen to your podcast. So I want to thank you again for joining us for another housing debrief. I hope you got a lot out of this. We're going to continue to drive home the message of what's really going on in the market. Good or bad, cracks or green shoots, we're going to bring you the play-by-play. Currently, right now, we're not about narratives. We're about sharing you what's going on. We will not change that at all, ever. We want to continue to bring you the latest and greatest. We are not about narratives. So we're giving you what is going on currently, right now in the housing market. So I hope you have a great finish to your week, and we will see you on the other side.